I did take half day yesterday because Dad and I went and picked up the little thing we acquired about 2 weeks ago. Hey, welcome back to Ohrmundt Simmentals. All right, it is a balmy Monday afternoon. And when I mean balmy, I'm saying for us, it's freaking hot. Last few weeks, we've only been barely in the mid 70s. And today, on my way home, it was 91. And we're getting humidity to go along with it. But that's kind of the name of the game for this week. It is going to be hot, muggy, chance of thunderstorms. So a little bit different for us and also for the cows. Unfortunately for the cows, they have to make a pretty big change. Go from the big blue water to the yellow water. All right, I have a small problem. There's a very important animal in between me and my four-wheeler. So I'm out at the yellow water and I just want to make sure that everything's working okay. And it's a little dirty. I forgot the brush. Not a big deal. It's not too bad. But I take the lid off and I'm like, it's a little different smell down there, but it wasn't too bad. Well, then I'm cleaning this out a little bit, trying to get like the big stuff. Well, I see a little skunk shoot out from under here and he's over by the four-wheeler, I think. I am not sure. To be continued, I guess. All right, I have stepped, well, I actually ran to this position because all of a sudden I came walking back to this side, the west side of the water tank, and all of a sudden I saw him coming out of that tall clover there, and he's running towards the water tank. I don't know if he's coming after me or coming after the tank because he knows he can hide in the tank. I'm assuming that's the case. But I did not hang around. I booked it. So I think I can get to the four-wheeler without any issues. I am definitely going to take a wide berth around and get over to the south side of the water or the four-wheeler. But the cover is going to stay off. I'm not going back over there. Okay, I got on the four-wheeler. I looked around underneath it to see if I could see anything. Couldn't really tell. It's in tall grass. As I'm pulling away, there's a baby skunk underneath the four-wheeler. I think they have to get to a certain size before those things become an issue. All right, Dad already actually had a bale on the loader. The reason we kind of wanted to do bales, this is the first really warm day, the first 90s we've had all summer, well, spring and summer. Just let them stay close to the big blue water. And if we're supposed to have severe storms tonight or tomorrow, kind of keeps them maybe a little closer. I'm sure they still have a little grass out there that they can nibble on. And we'll call them back up here. They are down thinking that they're going to get moved. But if we call them back up, they'll nibble on this stuff. They're going to be content. They'll be just fine. I mean, after today, we probably will just move them for the sake of moving them. But at least they get like maybe a day to acclimate without having to do so much walking. They're gonna not have to walk smidgen less, like maybe 10% less to have to get to the yellow water from their pasture, depending on where they're eating. All right, so we'll be waiting for those cows to come back up here. We got a nice little pile of hay in front of our gate here. The neighbor up the road, right across from one of the fields that we cut, they have really nice high quality horses, and they board horses and stuff like that. And then whenever they'll get some hay or something, like a bale will bust, or it'll be like a little moldy or be a little green, especially stuff that's a little green that might turn moldy for them. They'll bring it down, they'll just dump it in front, and because they know the cows will eat it, and it's always cool. Yeah, and it's always good quality grass hay. So. All right, I'm gonna grab the Estrotect. Hopefully we can give these things our shots. Hopefully these two heifers behave themselves. All right, so we're gonna utilize the Estro patches again. And since this is Nora, she's getting the green one. There we go. It went shockingly well for her. I think the more and more that they do this, they just realize this isn't horrible, you know, and they just go a lot easier. Hopefully a little 431 does the same. Come on, kiddo. Come on. Let's go. Let's go. There you go. Love it when they do that. Come on, girl. Hup, hup. And just double checking the board, seeing who got who. 431 is getting our last shot of Gibbs Essential. So hopefully we get a couple of Gibbs Essential heifers, at least maybe one. I'd like at least one. And I'm okay going on to the next generation of Gibbs Essential, like a nice Gibbs Essential son, you know, that kind of thing. So I'm definitely okay with that. I really am digging that Gibbs Essential heifer that we do have. And I think the bull would look nicer if he had real ears. And that's not his fault. Not his fault. It's not necessarily our fault. It kind of is our fault a little bit. But that comes with the territory. But yeah, those two went through the chute much better. 431 was fine the last time. Nora, she was much better this time going through. All right, Tuesday afternoon. Had to sit in Dad's truck for a little bit. Had a little bit of a thunder shower, I guess you could say, come through. Little bit of pea-sized hail, so not overly excited about that from a corn standpoint, but not from a damage on anything standpoint. But what we're gonna do starting out, gonna let this weather kind of pass us by before I move the cows. I will have to move the cows today. Guy's gonna come tomorrow morning and work on the tire. So we're gonna put it over by the milk house, and we're gonna get out the pressure washer and give this thing a good bath. Needs a bath anyways, so kind of good timing. Well, I think I got most of the grime and garbage off of here. Like some of this darker stuff is grease that's pretty hard to get off. And I don't like using any, I think this is the 15-degree fan or whatever. I don't like using the fine point because that just wrecks stuff. All right, so it's been about 5 or 6 minutes, and this is how much foam is still kind of sitting on here. So we're gonna let it sit for just a couple more minutes, and then we'll rinse it all down. Honestly, this is the only area that needs to be cleaned, is this tire. But as you've seen, this thing definitely needed a fresh wash. Well, is it perfect? No. Is it a heck of a lot better than before? Yes, absolutely. And actually, our front wheels, the paint jobs on these wheels is horrible, because that's not rust, that's just the paint flaking off. So we've had to deal with that for a number of years. But it is time to move the cows. So I am going to buzz on down there, see what supplies I've got and what I need. Because this is a pretty big move. I gotta account for a couple of things. I want to fence a little extra out. Reels, I'm not worried about. Posts, I'm worried about. And maybe a skunk. So we'll see. All right, so we made it by the yellow water. We are not going to go by the yellow water. We'll let the cows do that. The only thing it's not doing is that lid isn't on. There's a right up on top there'd be a red lid that sits down in there. That's the only thing that's not on. I don't think they'll really bother it, hopefully, but I just got to set up a line. We got some T-posts over here, and we're going to come across the top of this drain ditch And I'm gonna pick a spot, plenty of room. I want to give them plenty of room, you know, like somewhere in here. But I do want to fence this off a little bit because I really don't want them to come down into this wallowed out spot. Now that we've kind of dried up enough where, you know, a little bit of rain isn't going to hurt nothing, then, you know, hopefully we can get some grass growing back in there. And all right, we got everything set up, but I want to quickly let these guys on here and quickly grab a couple more posts from over there, because we've got some incoming weather. I'm just gonna check my radar quick. Now it shows nothing in the area, like, and I mean area as in the surrounding 10 miles. I really like how they got up by the water. There are a couple that are up there. A lot of years they sprint up there, and I'm cringing that they see the fence. This year they just kind of moped up there. So what that tells me is that they're very content. You know, they're not, these guys aren't starving. There's definitely some grass up out here. It's a little stemmy what's left, but it'll make good biomass, you know, good feed for the ground. So yeah, I think they've already basically found their boundaries, and there's so much nice clover right up on the edges in that area up there, that sacrifice area. They're gonna destroy it immediately, and then they'll come back out here. But they didn't wreck this right away. That's awesome. And honestly, the skunks are probably, actually I think they might have found the skunks. I've seen a couple kind of jump back from the water tank. I'm gonna drive this edge down as I go. I want to put a post down in this drain ditch. So as long as I'm going there, I'm gonna drive as close to the edge as I can. Then I can kind of reposition some of these posts then too. So you come down in these ditches, and right now this wire is above my belly button, so that's not gonna work. What I'll do is I put a post right at the bottom. That brings it down to the level I want. Is there a gap right in there? Sure. Is this on this side? There isn't, because I actually took that post a little further. So this will work out really good. And see, they're already coming back out. That's exactly what I want. I want them to know where the water is calmly, and then come back out here and enjoy it. Then in a couple hours, they'll go back and get water when they need it. Some of these guys are slicking off. Not Cher. Cher takes forever to slick off. I think she's just labeled as a little bit harder doing animal. But I mean, look at her calf. Last calf of the year. That dude is solid. He got a rumper still skin on him, for sure. Definitely for sure. And then I mentioned yesterday we got our last shot of Gibbs Essential. That's our Gibbs Essential heifer out of a bold ruler. So she's doing really nice. So that's Essential, bold ruler, and State of War. So yeah, everybody's looking good. And I think it looks like Marigold back there might have a rubbed off back. So hopefully she got bred. All right, well, I got one more post and I got a spot for it. Let's get that stuck in the ground. So up on top here, this is looking really, really good as far as grass goes. So right past this reed canary here, right, starting now in front of you, this is where like that really, really crappy stuff was a couple of years ago. Oh, hi Factor. Hi buddy. especially right here. This stuff was completely destroyed 2 years ago. Now I put some clover, some ryegrass in here. The ryegrass is definitely here. I think there was a little timothy in there. This stuff has come in really nice. It's been 2 years, yes, but you know, definitely tried some different things last year as far as grazing goes, and then still had some issues, but I think it helped. And then as the summer went on, tried some more things, and I think we're starting to see those benefits. This guy right here, he's got horns, little bastard. Hey, Deja. Okay, so we got this ribbon here. This is always really nice, great visual. All right, it is a breezy Wednesday afternoon. And Pomps, it was Pomps, right? Okay, yep, Pomps came out and they worked on the tractor tire. And here is one spot that we're thinking they plugged.
Got 3 marks on it.
Yeah. Well, I think this is where we always had a nail always in here.
No, that's not it. He found that.
He found that one. Okay. Well, he must have popped this off and then plugged them from the inside, huh?
I know.
But yeah, looks like he found an extra spot. We knew we had 2 spots, but it looks like this was the new one that I had marked, and then we knew we had another one, but it definitely looks like he got them fixed, and looks like he definitely put plenty of air in the tires. Still nothing with our heifers. Today would have been the early day for them to come and heat, but no rubs yet. So, and the patches are staying on real nice. We did have maybe 2/10, not quite 2/10 of rain this morning in a pretty decent rain shower. And then today we're also thinking we were going to go on a little road trip to pick up the item that we had acquired a week and a half ago, but with the weather being very unpredictable, so we might do that tomorrow afternoon. We'll have to deal with possibly a little bit of holiday traffic. All right, next we're gonna do, Dad's gonna put the bucking plate on and we're gonna pull the trailer out. Because if we do go tomorrow, it's, with the rain, it's a little bit muddy back there, and I don't really wanna go back there with my truck. So, pull it out with the tractor and then it's ready to go. All right, so we're gonna hook up to the BR 20-foot, you know, essentially a car hauler trailer, but it does have the larger axles. So yeah, this guy's a 20-footer. It does have the dovetail on the end, and then it does have ramps, and that's right, they're stored on this side. Yeah, it is. That's weird. I gotta check that out. Huh. That's probably from when we got the plow, because the rest of them are in great shape. That's not good. That may delay us. But yeah, it does have ramps that store underneath. All LED lights. All right, so we did run into a little bit of an issue. Yeah, right there. So there was a 3-inch screw in that hole, and only like an 1/8 inch was sticking out. So yeah, that's a problem. We do have actually a full-size spare, like it's same load rating, same size, same everything, so we can put that on, but we're going like 2 hours away, 2.5 hours away. I told Dad I'm not going down there without a spare. So there's a couple local tire places we can go that are open till 6. So if we get this off in time, Dad might be able to run it in, and then I can maybe go start tinkering with the disc bind, which is what we wanted to do. Hey, good morning. All right, Friday morning. Happy Friday. It is July 3rd, so it's the day before 4th of July, obviously. So a little early. Happy 4th of July. Hope you guys have a great weekend. Our company, we always get off for the 4th, so if the 4th lands on a Saturday, we get Friday off. I did take a half day yesterday because Dad and I went and picked up the little thing we acquired about 2 weeks ago. So we got ourselves a 10-foot Brilliant Sure Stand Seeder. This guy is a little bit older. It does not have hydraulics. You pull a pin, pull a bolt out, and then you just pull the wheels out and you're good to go. Looking at these things, I've always thought, man, that's gotta be a pain in the butt. But after thinking about it a little bit more and looking at them, I think what we've already talked about doing is we're gonna make some blocks of wood, some wedges, and we're gonna figure out a way to mount them on this thing so that they're always there. We always have them, and they're never gonna go anywhere. But this thing does have the double box. We had a strap on the covers so that they wouldn't fly up on us. We had a 2.5-hour drive home, which shockingly was not all that bad. And I'm actually gonna spin around to the other side. So we've got the grass box with the little beaters and stuff. Overall, this thing looks to be in pretty decent shape. There's been a little work done to it over the years, but for the most part, it seems pretty decent. And then here's where like your alfalfas and your clovers would go. And you've got this cover to go on so that stuff doesn't fly up in there. So we got the big rolls up in front, we got the little rolls in the back. Now this thing does have has had a couple of repairs. So we do have one like missing chunk here, but there has been a few repairs. Whoever had this, they did a decent job when they did it. Their bands aren't necessarily adjusted properly, but we will fix that. Instead of like getting to where they needed to go, they just cut chunks of one and they welded them in, but they did a decent job when they did it. So we weren't, too annoyed by that, but it's in pretty good shape. All the meters and stuff, they all adjust. Why, you ask? We got a Brilliant Sure Stand. Well, we've wanted one for a number of years. We don't do a ton of alfalfa. A lot of people will use these for alfalfa. Simply like your clovers, your alfalfas, you only want that stuff going in about 1/2 inch anyways. That's where the Sure Stand comes in. You got all the rollers, you got a prep roller, and you got a finish roller to get that seed where you want it to go. And especially in our sandy soils, if we do anything to incorporate any kind of manure, or even if we were going from, let's just say we're going from corn or oats to whatever, maybe we're gonna seed it down, we're still gonna disc it. We've also thought about, we have some hay fields that we don't want to really necessarily turn over. We just want to spruce them up a bit, and we want to try this in an overseeding application. Again, because our soils are so loose. If we can get those after a rain shower and right before another rain shower, we can probably get the seed exactly where we want it. So this was a pretty darn decent buy. Unfortunately, it was 2.5 hours away. It might be this one.
No, it ain't.
All right, so one of these two hoses is leaking. Unfortunately, they go up to here, which isn't as bad as that one, which is the one we did last year, right? Yep. Yeah, so that one there, that goes all the way through here, all the way to the front. That one's a pistol. These shouldn't be quite as bad. All right, we got her pulled out. We actually used an old ratchet strap as a line so we can string it back through. 17 feet. This is a custom size, so we're gonna go to Napa, have them make one up for us. Alrighty, we are back out for the hose. Alright, so we use, like I said, we use an old ratchet strap. And I'm sure part of the issue is just over time rubbing in here. But I gotta get her tied on here. We'll start shoving it in, and then we'll start pulling. Probably do a little bit of both. Dad's in the house for a little bit yet, but I'll probably push, pull, push, pull, do a little push, pull action until we get that thing worked all the way. There's an access hole down here, and then we need to get it up to there. But now we're looking at that little ticking sound, and can't see anything wrong with it, but we think knives might be hitting. So I'll show you what we did. We'll see if it works. That's, yeah, like right here.
Way inside there.
Now I did paint that tip, but it's possible we had a little rub there. All right, we're gonna go move the cows. I've got the mineral feeder. This thing's heavy when it's full. I got it in 4-wheel low. This is a little ridiculous. All right, well, we made it up to the yellow water area. Does not look like they have broken anything. This is looking pretty darn nice. Just thinking if I can do something about it, but they didn't wreck any of this. This is still up where I need it. So they are definitely behaving themselves there. But I think I might shift over. There's a post, because I always want to go to a post. I think that tree is in the middle of a post. All right, I got my post. All right, so I've got posts, obviously. And these guys are still, they're pretty darn content. All right, we'll call that officially number 3. And it was right there. So as I'm hooking this up, I looked up and it was right in here. So number 3. Now we're tied with Bethany, but we're not winning yet. Gotta win. But let's get this wrapped up so they can get on here. When I do that, they'll probably come. And then once they're on fresh grass, I will move my fence out section so that they only have the new area to come up here. And I think I'm gonna like that. And I'm gonna take that temp down. They can still go into their current area. Yeah, so they're not in a super big hurry, which is nice. Because honestly, it's gonna be a little hard to see that far wire. But they've already turned. They're running up that line. Starting to get a little bit of fly pressure, but everybody's in pretty darn good shape. I've never done it this way before, but I'm kind of already starting to like it. Because these guys have more than enough. It's probably 30 feet between this post and that post. They can still go into their old paddock, which there's nothing over there. All right, we got to wrap up this day. We got to head back, feed grain, and I need a shower. I'm gonna feed grain here quick. And honestly, you guys have seen me do grain forever. Yeah, I think we're gonna close the video out because it is Friday. It is the end of the day. We're gonna go find somewhere to eat because we're not cooking tonight. It is hotter than blazes out here. It's not so much the heat, it's the gosh darn humidity. That is what they say. It is not the heat, it is gosh darn humidity, because it is thick out here. I think it's still supposed to rain tonight, or at least there's a chance. It is the end of the day. We're gonna call it the end of the video. It is the day before the 4th of July, so I hope you guys have a great holiday. A lot of you probably have started because you had the day off today, like myself. But I mean, 250, I mean, that's pretty cool. You know, you're never gonna have another 250th birthday, you know, so that's pretty cool. It is pretty cool. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Have a great holiday, safe holiday, and yeah, we'll catch you in the next one. So yeah, on your way out, smash that like button, help support the channel. Questions, comments. And definitely don't forget to subscribe. Follow along for more. We got more cutting, more baling, more cow moves, a little bit of equipment repair, and who knows what else. So definitely subscribe, follow along for more. And as always, thanks for coming along.